Let's see. There's no way. Already. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Are we live? Looks like we're live. Let's get the post out. It's a slower news day today, which is good. At least I believe. Let's see. Mute that. Hopefully y'all weren't hearing double. I've moved things around a little bit to hopefully avoid some of the awful glare that we've been experiencing. We need the daylight savings time back in full effect. It's miserable. So yeah, before we start the day, go ahead and drop a like, follow, share, subscribe. Follow Tomcats on Kick. Nah, I don't know. Put W in my chat. Kick has lots of bots. It's kind of crazy. We'll just jump into it. It should be a shorter one today. Got the State of the Union tonight. We'll address that here shortly. Today is Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. This is episode number 61 of Addressing the Issues. Everything's backwards. This is weird to me. So, the State of the Union is tonight, meaning is every American its favorite pastime to make bingo cards, and some like to drink along to the State of the Union when there are buzzwords that are used, catchphrases as I like to call them. But I've got a few for you. Keep an eye out for. We've got greatest economy, MAGA, Maha, last admin. That can be substituted with Biden regime. We've got the golden era. We've got Supreme Court. I'm sure they'll be mentioned. You can add barely invited to that. They were barely invited to the State of the Union. Another term would be winning. You could replace that with Republican victories. Likelihood that that'll be mentioned. Then there's going to be, more than likely, brave men and women and or of law enforcement. That's a common one in President Trump's speeches. Given recent events, you'll likely have mentions of cartels, with or without drone strikes, trafficking routes. I'm sure that'll be in there, at least almost sure. I feel 98% confidence in that one. Another one, the bonus. This would be Iran. Think that there's a likelihood that it will be mentioned. Along with the bonus, it's, whether or not Iranian intervention has or is taking place as the speech is going on, or, before. And then, of course, as always, it'll end with the State of the Union is strong. You could probably replace that with the free space. It's for sure in there. And there's some ideas for your bingo card. Whether all of them are considered accurate by, the average American is a completely different story. But those are some pretty safe bets, I would say. So there's going to be a Democrat response, which is always done after the State of the Union. There's always a response by the party not holding power. It will be done by newly elected Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger. This is the woman who, in just a little over a month, has chased off multiple billion-dollar businesses from Virginia, ended cooperation with ICE, among other things that have just substantially made her state worse in just a month. I mean, completely rolled back everything that the Republican governor before her was working on. But that is, just the leftist mentality, is destroy everything. But some bonus bingo for the response would be affordability crisis, ICE terror. I'm sure that is going to be a hit with the leftists, along with fascist and or Nazi. I'm sure one, if not both of those, will be mentioned. I think we'll get corrupt. I also believe we'll get criminal. And covering for his friends, I'm sure that will be mentioned in relation to the Epstein files. In other news, the men's hockey team has been at the White House today. They accepted the invitation, flew in, I believe, this morning on a government flight. It wasn't a deportation flight. It was just a regular government flight. After, partying all night at 11 in Miami. Looks like a pretty poppin' club. They had it more patriotic than you'd ever expect a club to be. They actually got the dancers to stop dancing and stand there and put their hands over their heart for the national anthem. I thought that was too funny. Actually shut down a club in Miami for the national anthem. I mean, rather impressive stuff there. Bringing the people together, the men's team. But who's not bringing the people together? The women's hockey team. The women's hockey team has, as I guessed yesterday, refused their invitation to the White House, their invitation to the State of the Union address, and is being praised for this decision by the awfuls. The awfuls, as many people call them, affluent white liberal females. They're all on social media. The same people that claim they want unity right now in America are the ones actively denying it and celebrating that there is no unity. This was the chance for unity, and you just denied it. And then and now you're praising people for avoiding unity. It's actually crazy to see. We sweep Canada in hockey on the world's biggest stage, and you can't put your politics down for 1 second to just come together. Not 1 second. And it's just like the Democrats in Congress that are refusing to attend the State of the Union. This is why I, often wonder, I'll probably be attacked for this in the comments or in the chat, but I often wonder if, the 19th Amendment was just a mistake. This is evidence that broadly women let emotions control their politics. I'm not arguing all women, but I would argue definitely a majority. But they let emotions control how they vote. Men don't have the same issue. They typically use reason when voting. And I say typically on that because not all men use reason while voting either. There are some that let their emotions get the best of them. But you need to use reason when voting. You need to have a competent worldview. And when you're overran by emotions when voting, and thinking, big bad orange man, stuff like this, you can't vote in a competent society. It's just counterintuitive when emotions control more than logic. And that's exactly what's happening with the women's hockey team. They're letting their emotions get the best of them, even if it's completely counterintuitive to what they preach on a daily basis, which is unity. And along the same lines, the government would be significantly less leftist, and probably better functioning. But I'll leave that there. I'll see what you guys have to say about that when it gets through your screens and everybody can keyboard warrior in the chat. But you can't let emotions get the best of you in voting. And it's not just women, it's a group of men. I would say a minority of men, but it does happen. They get all bent up out of shape over small things. And then they vote using emotions, not with logic. They vote with these knee-jerk reactions, and it's why our country kind of doesn't function well. You can't just react when you're upset. You need to be proactive. The left only wants unity when it means we all believe like them. Well, that's true. That is the push of socialist communism, which is, deeply flawed. We're a nation that doesn't even know what men and women are. How would we know who should vote? All right, I'll accept that. You beat me there. Nobody can vote. How about that? We'll just be an AI technocracy. We'll let the AI determine. We'll use woke ChatGPT and just let the chips fall where they may. No, I'd use something a little more based. I'd use Grok. I'd use Grok to run the government. It wouldn't be as bad. It'd still be bad, but it wouldn't be as bad as ChatGPT or Claude. Nope, you cannot blame liberalism on women. Why do you say that? Country was a lot more conservative before then, I'll be honest. But we'll move on. I'll continue to respond to these and at the end. It's too funny. But yeah, you can kind of blame liberalism on women. It's kind of everything that the suffrage movement was. And then we get all kinds of crazy politics today that don't focus on America. They focus on just random things, trans rights, gay rights. Stuff that just, it doesn't, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's just like, nobody cares as much as liberals on these things. Like, yes, they can have rights. Everybody has rights. We all have rights. It's just, they push so hard for them to have more rights than everybody else, which is counterintuitive and crazy. But it all started with the suffrage movement, women's suffrage, and then from there it just, kind of snowballed into the craziness that we see today. But we'll move on. So, in another story, I believe this was first reported, I want to say by the Daily Mail, if I'm not, or no, the Telegraph. Epstein paid private detectives to hide documents in storage. This was done to hide documents outside of his Palm Beach Island, not Little St. James Island, but it was also used to hide documents from there as well. Both of those houses were used, or had documents sent to storage on Epstein's behalf. When private detectives were asked about the storage lockers, they declined to comment on these storage lockers paid for by Epstein, claiming that it was confidential. When the FBI was asked if these storage units were raided, the FBI refused to say whether or not they did so. Unit payments date back to the first being in 2003, over a year before the first investigations on Jeffrey Epstein started. These would be with a sweetheart plea deal that he received. He was possibly hiding documents and was tipped off to the investigation beforehand. And payments stopped on these storage units in 2019. In Florida, storage companies can sell units after being unpaid for 60 days. It was claimed that these units were scattered in the industrial areas around Palm Beach, including Royal Palm Beach and Delray Beach, including at least one in New Mexico near the Zorro Ranch and one in Manhattan near his Manhattan home. This has got to be the new season of Storage Wars. I mean, we're looking for units abandoned in this general area since 2019. And, if you want to, get one, I guess you could see me at the local auctions. If there's anything abandoned since 2019, I'm going to go there. We're going to have Storage Wars, the Epstein Files edition, and we'll leak everything to the public. The public will get everything from those storage units if I am the successful bidder. Just imagine, me, some random dude from Storage Wars, a couple of undercover FBI agents trying to do damage control. We're all sitting there at a abandoned storage unit in South Florida. One dude just wants all the junk that's in it. The FBI trying to do damage control, and me just sitting there. We're going to release it all. How fun would that be? That would be too fun. So if you want to help me out on this quest, you can donate on Rumble. Subscribe. You can subscribe for 1 month, multiple months. Send a donation, and we'll go bid on these Epstein units if we can find them. And I'll release everything to the public, at least within reason. We're not making victims' lives worse. That would be evil. But beyond that, it's all going out. We'll put it out for free. That'd be so much fun. But no, Storage Wars has got to do this. If there's still any of these that haven't been bought. I know it says 60 days that they can start selling these units, but you got to imagine some of them they've just kind of put off. I'd imagine there's, maybe one left. You've just got to get lucky. So we're going to do Epstein, the Storage Wars edition. No, Storage Wars, the Epstein edition. That would be too much fun. There's also a revelation in the Epstein files that Epstein at one point was investigated by the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency. The case opened in 2010 and was open through 2015 based on illicit drug and or prostitution activities in the Virgin Islands and New York. What's interesting about that is both of these are hot spots for drug activities, So there might be a little bit of credibility to these investigations, which is rather interesting, rather crazy. Imagine, he's not just money laundering. He's not just abusing, possibly killing children, possibly eating them. He's also in the drug trade. It makes like a whole new level of his connections back to the Iran-Contra scandal. It's absolutely crazy. But apparently the Southern District of New York prosecutors had no idea that the DEA probe even existed either. So you wouldn't be the only one that didn't know Epstein was investigated for drug trafficking, drug trade, which I think is kind of crazy. I mean, what couldn't this man do? If he's doing all of these, I don't know how he has time in the day. But, I guess that's what having Ghislaine Maxwell's for. She can take half of it and, get all your evil things done, I guess. I mean, I don't know how you have time in the day for all this evil. But I guess evil doesn't sleep. I guess that's the moral of the story here. So we'll move on to the Middle East situation. The Gang of Eight was briefed this afternoon by Marco Rubio. It was at 3 p.m. today, ahead of the State of the Union. Of course, we won't get to know what was in this briefing, as these are the 4 Republican and 4 Democrat congressional leaders with access to the most sensitive intelligence. Meaning, if we did receive anything, it would jeopardize mission integrity. But, that's just one more step towards at least, getting congressional approval for war or going to war itself. You just say, this is why we're going to do it. And then they do it. That is truly a possibility at this point. And there is, still time left in the working day for Congress. They could, theoretically, hold an emergency session today, authorize intervention, war in Iran through an Iran War Powers Act. And then by the State of the Union tonight, it's just like, yeah, we're flying planes over Tehran right now. Have fun. Your oil's going to be expensive. Good luck. But along the same lines, 12 United States Stealth F-22 Raptors landed in Israel today. This model has never been sold to foreign militaries due to a U.S. prohibition on selling this technology. It's state-of-the-art for U.S. It's our most expensive plane, or at least one of them. I believe it's somewhere along the lines of like $80,000 per flight hour. Just due to, like I said yesterday, the 20 to 25 hours of maintenance necessary per flight hour. But it's never been sold anywhere due to its prohibition. And it's also, rare that the U.S. lands jets in Israel. They typically opt to land in neighboring Jordan when they're doing joint training exercises. So this is a little strange. It's a little bit different than how things are normally done. It wouldn't be the first time, obviously. It's happened before. But never with this level of technology. Never with Stealth F-22s. So I'm just going to say, don't be surprised if one or two of them, don't make it back from the airbase for some incredulous reason. Don't be surprised. I wouldn't be. It wouldn't be the first time that technology's been stolen from the U.S. in the Middle East. I guess not overtly stolen like it possibly could be, but, secrets, top secret secrets, top secret intelligence. It wouldn't be the first time stuff like this has happened. So that's why it's a little alarming that they landed in Israel, in my opinion, especially given that they normally land in neighboring Jordan. But I guess on the other side of the potential conflict, China has sent Iran more hypersonic missiles capable of targeting aircraft carriers. This is a related missile to the one that U.S. intelligence warned could wipe out the U.S. Navy and the defense of Taiwan in minutes. The missile Iran has received is the CM-302, which is the export variant of the YJ-12 missile family. But they have this now in conjunction with Iran's domestic supply of the Fatah-1 and Fatah-2 hypersonic missiles, meaning now that there is three different varieties of hypersonic missiles that Iran has at its disposal in the region, which is kind of horrifying. I think we've talked about it. Actually, I know we've talked about it before. I mean, missiles capable of going Mach 10 or even faster. There's no way to shoot them down, at least not with publicly disclosed technologies. And the military, has worries that it's even possible at all. So, maybe it's just a bluff. Maybe it's a small end intelligence. I mean, it would be a huge intelligence bluff, actually. I think everybody'd be surprised if these things started getting shot down, but they're capable of, zigzagging at these insane speeds, low altitude, capable of flying up right at the end and then flying straight back down. I mean, absolutely crazy technology. It's kind of sad that it's used for destruction, but, that's just what the military does. There's rumors that, the U.S. military is always 20 years ahead of the public in technologies, and I wouldn't argue that that's not true. They've been working on, AI since I'm pretty sure it was the 50s. I did a thing on this in school, but the U.S. military has been working on AI since, I believe 1954. So yeah, they're a little bit ahead of the general public in technology. I mean, in that case, 50 years ahead of the public at least? I guess closer to 60 on AI. I mean, I can't imagine how far ahead of the general public they are in, war things, whether that be drones, hypersonic missiles. I mean, we know their jets are a little bit more fancy than the average Boeing airliner. I think that's probably for good reason, though. You wouldn't want to be doing barrel rolls and zero-G turns on the way to your vacation in Europe. That'd be a little scary, but they are ahead. They're much ahead. So, I mean, I hope it's a bluff and they have ways to prevent these, but 3 different varieties it's something different, especially when all 3 have different capabilities. You have to be able to identify this missile moving towards you at, Mach 10, around Mach 10, maybe faster, identify what it is, what capabilities it has, and then shoot it down all before it hits you. And it could be coming straight at you, could be zigzagging, could be arcing up and then down. You have no way of telling what profile it's set to, what attack profile it's using. You just gotta guess. I mean, all I can think of is, lasers or even sonic weapons, sonic defense systems, radio frequencies. Even those might be a little slow, which is, alarming. You would need something almost, pretty close to the speed of light to have impact on this. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that they have 3 different missiles at this point for defense. We have some for defense, attack, I guess in this case. We do have some, but the weapons are getting scary, and obviously they'll only get crazier. They'll only get more advanced. I think that's all I have on the current state of the Middle East. We've got the Gang of Eight briefed. We've got more and more planes flying in, more and more hypersonic missiles being sent to the region by China, of all places. It's not Russia, it's China. That is our near-peer adversary. Russia is bogged down in Ukraine right now. I'll just throw this in there. It's been something I've been wanting to do for a couple of days. We've got a little bit of time today because we're about to wrap up. But there's been terrorist attacks, I guess also in China, but in Ukraine over the weekend. Explosions, I believe I want to say Kyiv, but I'll just say in Ukraine in a broader sense. I'd have been labeled terrorist attacks. And then I believe it was yesterday or maybe Sunday. But Ukraine, or maybe not Ukraine, likely Ukraine, blew up the Druzhba 1 station at Kalinkino, I believe. This is the oil pipeline which Hungary and Slovakia get Russian oil from. I believe it goes through Ukraine. But, it's kind of just like that Nord Stream pipeline situation where there is no benefactor except for Ukraine. So, it's like biting the hand that feeds you. Europe may not do the most may not have the most of donations to Ukraine, but, attacking them probably isn't in your best interest if you do want them to continue to provide for you with weapons, defense. And the EU could be in on it, kind of like the Nord Stream pipeline situation. But it is a rather interesting phenomenon that keeps happening with these oil pipelines there. And that the assumption, I guess, as of right now, that Ukraine is involved in this one, much like the Nord Stream pipeline. It doesn't help Russia, obviously, because they can't sell fuel, but it also doesn't help Europe because they're going to be cold these next few weeks heading in the spring. I just think of that as a rather interesting situation unfolding there, especially with their terrorist attacks. Like within 24 hours, the oil pipeline to two European nations that they're kind of not on board with the whole keep funding Ukraine thing. And then all of a sudden, their oil goes kaboom, kind of like Germany's. It's just an interesting phenomenon that keeps repeating itself. There's also, like I said, there's been terror attacks in China. They're believed to be from a Pakistani group. China's been going crazy recently. People burning down factories because they aren't being paid by the factories. Just lots of, honestly, third world activities happening in China. And people, champion them as being this insane modern society. Most of those buildings are empty. They just have lights on the outside and it looks cool at night. You want to know why they don't take pictures of them during the day? Because they're just tall shell commie blocks. They're Patonkin towns. Similar to that North Korea set up on the border of South Korea to look grand, to look like things are going well for the regime. They never were, as exhibited currently But I mean, in the era of the internet, it's a lot easier to build these, post pictures of them online as propaganda, these videos. Look at my RGB city. And then all of a sudden, you find out that they're empty on the inside, getting torn down and rebuilt. Nobody lives there. Everybody lives in actual slums in China. I mean, in the broader sense, everybody there lives in slums. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, that's what's going on with around the world, I guess. We went all around the world today. But it's some things that needed to be brought up. I guess needed. Could be. Should be acknowledged. There's also the thing with China that recent estimates said that they never reached 1 billion people. That their population peaked at around 700,000, and it was just a propaganda vehicle to make countries fear them. China's been crazy for a long time. There just isn't any media free to share the truth. That is true. It's really hard for them to get out with the firewall. There are some people that have abilities. I'm not sure exactly how they get the ability to communicate with an average Chinese citizen. If anybody has any contacts, that could do it, without them getting in trouble. I wouldn't want to see anybody being punished due to leaking information to me, but it would be interesting to talk to somebody who lives inside of crazy China right now. Just talk to him about, why wages aren't being paid by these factories, why they're being burnt down after wages aren't being paid, what's going on with the terror attacks that are allegedly Pakistan. I mean, I'm not sure that isn't untrue, that could just be propaganda. It could be, from the inside, color revolution style. But yeah, there are a lot of problems currently in China. Problems that, liberal media won't, I guess I would say leftist, they won't acknowledge, because it makes people further understand how bad communism actually is. Didn't get everybody rich. It resulted in the one-child policy. It resulted in never owning property. You can't own property in China. You can lease it for 99 years. But you can't pass it down to your children if you pass away before the 99-year lease is up. It just goes back to the state, and they can sign a new lease on it for 99 years. It's a dystopian society, China is. China's a dystopia. I guess, I'd argue so is Ukraine. Stealing all our money, blowing up oil pipelines for people that are continuing to provide them at least financial support. Maybe Tim Walz will talk to you about how, man, he's friends with lots of people. I heard he was friends with, people that go in the schools, and not just the drag show hosts. We'll leave it at that. We won't go too far into the Tim Walz. Goodness, that guy he's crazy. Tim Walz is crazy. I think he's like, I don't know, I'm not going to say anything I can't prove. But Tim Walz is crazy. We'll move on. So yesterday I reported on the Mexico, honestly, it seems like a drug civil war. It seems to have been calming down in recent hours, I guess. Not even probably a whole day yet. But I had reported that El Yogurt was the leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. Today I'm here to correct that it's possibly not El Yogurt that's the leader. And it's also possible, that in these, as per normal, per the usual with these, when they lose the cartel leader, there's infighting as to who takes over. But there's now been reporting that O3, O the letter, 3 the number, is a new leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, replacing El Mencho. O3 was born in Santa Ana, California, and is a U.S. citizen. He's also the stepson of El Mencho. That has also been reported as the new leader of the cartel. Oddly enough, California is the same state that released El Mencho on heroin charges in the 90s. So it seems like a lot of this could have been prevented. But there's often infighting. It could be 2 factions right now that are warring over who's going to take the reins that El Mencho once had. Meaning Mexico's going to be violent for possibly a really long time. It could be El Yogurt or O3, according to recent reporting. Kind of crazy names. Actually, not kind of, really crazy names. Cartel infighting. A tale as old as time. Happened in Colombia way back when. Now it happens just south of our border. Elon Musk is in trouble Mexico's looking to sue Elon Musk for claiming that the president of Mexico is in on it. I hope that's done in a U.S. court. I can't wait for discovery on that case. Because that's going to be really funny when it's outed that the Mexican president's in on it. She claims she's not. I don't believe it. Elon Musk doesn't believe it. I think discovery would be rather interesting with President Gloria Sheinbaum and whether the cartels have any control over her. I think it would be really interesting because I don't think she's being completely truthful with that statement, especially given all our political rivals that have met untimely demises related to cartel violence. It's another tale as old as time. Mexico politicians meeting untimely demises from cartel-related crime. Couldn't they just have a normal name like Juan? No, of course not. They've got to have something crazy like El Yogurt or O3. No, they can't have a normal name. They wouldn't be respected. They need to be like El Chupacabra. That guy would get respect in the cartel. That guy, he'd lead it. He's a future leader. You'll hear that El Chupacabra is the next leader of a new cartel, and you'll be like, yeah, that guy gets it. That guy gets it. That's all we have for today. So make sure you guys are dropping a like, sharing if, you think somebody'd like to watch this, following on Kick, following on Rumble, subscribing on YouTube, also subscribe on Rumble if you'd like. I believe it's $5 a month. And maybe we can do Storage Wars, the Epstein season, see if we can find, storage units from the 2019s that haven't been auctioned off yet, haven't been rated. I think that would be about the funniest thing possible. Absolutely hilarious. Me, a storage war dude, couple of FBI people trying to cover their tracks. Undercover, of course, just bidding on a storage unit in South Florida that hasn't been paid for since 2019. That would be the most entertaining show on television. I'll tell you what. I think it would. But yeah, that's all we have for today. Make sure you guys are liking and sharing. Share this episode with somebody. Share the channel with somebody. We're trying to get more and more people in here. Trying to defeat this algorithm. It's hard. It is very hard. But I've been working hard trying to get longer episodes for you guys. So it's hopefully possible. They do enjoy length on streams, believe it or not. It allows me to reach more and more people. More and more people have time to, stop by, hang out, chat, like. And that helps me with the algorithm. Subs help with the algorithm on YouTube. So yeah, make sure you guys are following, subscribing on your respective platforms, turning on notifications. So when I am inevitably 5 to 10 minutes late, which is seemed to be common practice these days, you'll be notified. But yeah, the State of the Union's tonight. Make sure you have your bingo card and I guess an unhealthy supply of alcohol if you're into that. Because it's gonna be something tonight, I'll tell you what. Let's see if I've missed any chats. Nick Fuentes can't get a date, and neither will you if you keep spewing misogyny. You are going to cause the population to stop growing. I mean, you think the women that disagree are the ones that allow the population to continue to grow? No, these are the ones that swear at 18 that they'll never have a child and get their tubes tied, and yet they're still allowed to vote for some reason. I mean, I don't know. You're arguing on behalf of the crazy people. I'm not saying all women have those beliefs, but I'm saying it's a vast majority. It truly is. It really is. It really, really is. And it's kind of sad because I don't find them dateable. Women that are unwilling to have kids, women that are self-declared leftist socialist, I don't find them attractive. I like a woman with a brain on her shoulders. Well, not a brain, a good head on her shoulders with a brain in it that functions, at least at like 50% capacity or better, hopefully. But yeah, that's all we've got for today. I'll be back live again tomorrow at 4:45 Eastern Time with more news, I guess more hot takes as referenced by the chat. Maybe the hot takes will get me somewhere in the algorithm. Or maybe I'll be plunged into oblivion because they are rather hot takes, I'll be honest. But they are takes that need to be said. They truly are. And yeah, I'll watch the State of the Union tonight. I'll have you guys, at least my opinion on it tomorrow. It's probably not going to be the same as Governor Abigail Spanberger's, but I'll have something for you on that tomorrow. Probably, once again, recapping all the blatant lies that are told in both addresses. Because that seems to be a commonality from our government. It's just saying things that can be demonstrably disproven. And then I'll get called fake news or something. I don't know. It's a propaganda world we live in. The era of deception. Let's see. Is there anything else that's been going on? What is this? Oh, no. It's from 2025 and it's news today. Yeah, give me a break. All right, we'll sign off here. To my people on the East Coast, I hope you get home safe. To my people further west, I hope you get home safe as well. Make sure you guys are dropping a like, following, subscribing. Thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you guys again very soon.